interesting idea. It sort of coincides with the idea of the introduction of agriculture.
Yes.
So you have the introduction of agriculture, so you have resources that are more abundant, and you have more animals. And so if these people lived in a resource-rich environment where there was plenty of meat, and they didn't have to worry, you could see how maybe they would throw some scraps at a cute little wolf that's near the fire.
There's many ideas about how
and
dogs
over time,
right. The ones who were least afraid hung around.
Right.
No,
so what they did with the foxes over just the course of a few generations.
Yes.
This took a few thousand years.
Yeah, and then people would grab one of those wolves or let them hang around, and then, they would clean up the offal around the camp and whatever. There's many ideas, of course, nobody knows. But what is kind of known is the dates from DNA and carbon dating. The dates at which humans were able to domesticate livestock and the dates at which humans were able to domesticate dogs from wolves. And domesticating dogs preceded livestock. Livestock was like 11,000 years ago, roughly, of all species, swine, horses, cows, whatever, sheep.
So was it possible that the initial domestication of wolves into dogs took place in a very game-rich environment where they didn't have fight over resources?
And no livestock.
No livestock.
Exactly, because it hadn't happened yet.
Right.
So there would be more opportunity, potentially, for these animals. Again, I'm not saying it was to help each other so much, but they took advantage of each other's strengths and weaknesses. The wolf's strength was being able to run something down until it was so tired that people didn't do that. And then people would say, oh, yeah, that thing's crippled over there. Let's go kill it, and we'll get our meat, and the wolves can have the rest or whatever.
Was there also a consideration that during these times, this was a hunter-gathering time where they really didn't have a preservation of meat? There was no way to store it, so you had to continue to hunt and gather. So if you had an abundance, you didn't think, oh, I'll stockpile this for the next few months. That was never even an afterthought.
Probably not, unless it was in the tundra and it was winter time. They could freeze it. But the relationship there's many dates, it said, about when people domesticated dogs, and it varies a lot. But I think there's some consensus 35,000 years ago.
Wow, was that long ago?
Long ago.
I didn't know that.
And you can Google it, Jamie. But
I thought it was like 10,000.
No, because it happened significantly before we began domesticating livestock. So what I'm saying is there wasn't a conflict base. Resources were abundant. There wasn't protection of our livestock. There wasn't this and that. And eventually people when livestock became a thing, then eventually people would take a wolf-like canid, a dog that we domesticated, and then I find it interesting to train it to keep the wolves, their wild cousins, away from the livestock. Talk about wow.
Crazy. Yeah.
Humans are so creative with what they can do, and dogs are so plastic. I mean, you take a wolf and you put a lot of pressure on it, and eventually you come up with a golden retriever and a griffon and a poodle, because they have a lot of plasticity genetically, morphologically, behaviorally, that I don't think a lot of the other species have or would show up when we try to domesticate them. That's just my theory.
Yeah, well, it seems to be uniquely adaptive.
Yeah.
Right?